Assalamu alaikum everyone, welcome back to DeveloperMaroof. This is lesson 7. We will learn about functions in JavaScript. Functions are blocks of code that we can reuse again and again. They help us write cleaner, more organized code. We'll learn how to declare functions, use parameters to pass data into them, and return values from them. Functions are one of the most important concepts in programming, so let's master them together. Let's start coding. I've already created this index.html file. So let's dive into our JavaScript. So let's start with the simplest function, one without any parameters. I'll create a function space greet parenthesis inside curly braces, and let's add a log here. Assalamu alaikum, welcome to DeveloperMaroof. Now to use this function I need to call it, so we should come here and let's call this function greet and parentheses. So this is called calling or invoking the function. When we run this code, the function will execute and print our message. Assalamu alaikum, welcome to JavaScript. So let's save this and see our log. You can see we have our message in the console. If we comment it out, we will not see any message here because this function is not running now. To make this function run, we should always call the function here. So this was our basic function without any parameter. Let me show you the functions with parameters. So let's add a function with parameters. The functions become more useful when we can pass data into them. We do this with parameters. So let me show you. Let's create a function called greetUser and parentheses. Inside that parenthesis, we can write anything. For now, we are writing name because we will get the name and curly braces. Inside that, we will have our log saying let's add template literals because we will use this name variable inside that message. Let's say assalamu alaikum and $sign curly braces. Inside that we should have our name. So whatever this name is, it will show inside this curly braces or our message. Let's add exclamation. So let's now call this function greet user and curly braces. So we can pass any data here. So let's say Maroof. I pass this data inside this parenthesis, so we will get this data into that. So this is a flow, and from here we are getting this variable here. So it will say assalamu alaikum. So let's save this and see our log. Let's comment these out first. Okay, you can see assalamu alaikum Maroof here because we are getting Maroof from this parameter name, and Maroof is coming from here. So if we change it to grenade, we will have grenade here. We can also call this function many times. So we can use anywhere this function. Let's say greet user, and let's say Ali here, and we will get our second log here. Assalamu alaikum Ali, because we pass Ali in our parameter, so it will get Ali. We can call as many times as we want. If we change it to Usman, let's say Noor, we will have our log here 5 times because we have called our function 5 times. We can also pass multiple parameters to send multiple data. So let me show you that as well. Let's comment this out, and let's say function with multiple parameters. So if we say function introduce and parentheses inside that, let's add a name parameter and an age. You can add multiple, as many as you want. So and add a log here. Let's have my name is this and I am age years old. So if we call this function here introduce parentheses, and let's have our name John, comma our second parameter age, let's say 20. So if we save this and see our log, my name is John because we have put name here and name is coming from here. We put John, so we are getting John, and I am 20 years old. So this 20 is coming from this parameter. We call it here and have given the value here. So this is how we can pass more information into our function. So let's comment this out, and let me show you the function with return statement. Let's add a comment function with return statement. So functions can also give us data back using the return statement. So let me show you how. Function show message. We will have our message here and code braces. So first let me show you the function without return statement, which we have done here and here. We haven't used any return state inside those functions. So let me show you that first. Let's say function without return statement, and let's have log here and say message colon comma, call this message here, and let's call this function show message parenthesis. This is a function without return state. Okay, so if we save this, we are getting our message. This is a function without a return. So this function just print a message. It doesn't return anything, which is fine for functions that just do something. So now let me show you the function with the return statement. Let's say function is adult age. Let's curly braces. Let's add return age is greater than or equals to 18. Let's see our log outside the function. Let's say is 20 and adult. Now let's call our function inside the console. So it will return true or false because we have added a condition here. So whatever the condition gives us its result, and we will get that value in here. So let's save this and see is 20 an adult. It is saying true because we have paused 20 here. 20 is greater than 80. So this condition is true and it is returning true to this isAdult function. So if we add here 17, it will get us false. You can see is 17 an adult. It is saying false because 17 is not greater than or equals to 80. So this is how you write function with return statement returning any value. Let's comment these out. And let me show you now our final functions with default parameters. So sometimes we want to give parameters default value. This way, if someone doesn't pass a value, it uses the default one. So let's add a comment here. Functions with default parameters. And let's have function greet with default parenthesis and curly braces here, and inside that parenthesis we should have our name, and let's assign the default value is equals to guest. So this is the default value I am giving to this name variable, name parameter, and let's add a log here saying welcome name. So now let's call this greet with default, and let's keep it empty. So we haven't passed any parameter here, so this name will get the default value and add it to our name. So you can see here in the log welcome guest because name is now assigned to the value of guest. So this is how the default parameter behave. If we don't pass a name, it uses the guest as a default value. If we pass anything here, let's say John, it will ignore this default value and have our John inside the name. So if we save this now and see our log welcome John, because now we have passed the name, so that's why we are getting this name here. If we call it again without any parameter, it will give us guest. You can see we are getting guest here and we are getting John here, because here we have passed our name John and here we have kept it empty, so it is getting the default parameter value. So that's it for today's lesson. We just learned about functions in JavaScript, how to declare them, use parameters to pass data and return value. Functions helps us write reusable code instead of writing the same code multiple times. We write it once in a function and call it whenever we need. So practice creating your own functions. Try to solve problems by breaking them into smaller functions. In lesson 8 we will learn about function expressions and arrow functions, which are alternative ways to write functions in JavaScript. If this helped you, like the video, subscribe to DeveloperMaroof and share it with someone learning JavaScript. Jazakallah khair for watching. Allah Hafiz.